I am Steve Wyche. I'm with the NFL Network. I'm here all week for the HBCU Legacy Bowl. This career fair is a great opportunity. I see a lot of empty seats here, but those of you who are in these seats are getting an opportunity to get a step ahead of everyone else. So understand you being here is really, really good on your part. Make sure to visit all of the booths here because you never know what opportunities could arise. But we're going to have our first panel discussion. We've got a really, an elite group of panel discussions throughout this. But this first panel is called Sports Opportunities, Exploring the World of Sports Off the Field. Okay, so let me introduce the folks right here. First off, Larry Kennedy, the Key Accounts Manager and National Player and Coach Liaison with Riddell Equipment. So let's welcome in Larry. And as you see, these incredible helmets and some of the gear that Riddell has provided these players this week is amazing. They are getting treated just to the top notch of everything. All right, so Dr. Kiki Barnes, the Director of Athletics at Dillard University here in New Orleans. Thank you so much. Okay, Adam Petrus, the Regional Manager and Client Services and Operations for Zebra Sports at Zebra Technologies. Thanks, Adam. Zebra, and everyone's got booths here too, so you see the panel, but make sure to visit their booths here as well. Okay, Mallory Sanders, Director of People and Culture Associate for the Minnesota Vikings. Welcome, Mallory. And Kai Harley, the VP of Football Administration with the New Orleans Saints. All right. It's a lot of brain power here, and for those of you who are ambitious, once you get off this panel, I try to saddle up with some of these guys and get some of their information. So a little housekeeping. Instead of waiting to the end of this panel for a Q&A session, raise your hand right away, okay? We don't want you to have a great question and then have to wait 20 minutes and forget about it because that's what old people like me do when we go to these panel discussions. So again, raise your hand, Tiger, and we have got a mic. This is Jeremy. We call him Tiger for the Black College Football Hall of Fame and coaching charities. But he'll come around with a microphone. So, you guys, first off, let's just kind of go down the road and explain what you do, because you all have some really fancy titles. So, Kai, why don't you start and kind of explain what you do?
So, again, I'm the Vice President of Football Administration. In layman's terms, I'm the cap guy, the cap guru. I negotiate our player contracts, manage our salary cap. I'm in our personnel department, so I'm in all of our personnel meetings and basically at the discretion of the GM, assist him with anything he needs.
So, in other words, if you've seen what the Saints have done with their salary cap over the past 4 years, this is the most brilliant man in the NFL. All right. Mallory?
Hi, everybody. So I'm the People and Culture Associate. So I'm a part of our associate program with the Vikings. I started in July, and I'll be finished in May. So we're actually recruiting for that right now. I'm going to go ahead and slide that in there. So if you're interested, come by our booth. But I do a lot of work with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So focusing on the internal strategies that we do, as well as external strategies, things that we put on social media, the way that we're handling certain situations that are going on that affect marginalized groups and things of that nature. Also helping with our recruiting from a diverse perspective and other employee engagement things.
Right. Thank you and good morning. Adam Petrus. So the good news is I was just promoted. So my new title
that's really good news.
Head of North America Business Development and Sales for Sports and Entertainment at Zebra Technologies.
That is a big jump. That is you went up like 4 rungs on the ladder.
A little bit.
Okay.
My role with Zebra and Zebra Technologies in sports is we are the official on-field player tracking provider of the NFL. So when you see next-gen stats powered by AWS, Zebra Technologies is actually the technology, the hardware that collects the data that then feeds it to NFL Network and the data feed and then tell those fun stories. So it's been a lot of fun, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our technology solutions and hardware, and we're going to put them into other NFL venues, but from Formula One to Major League Baseball, all the venues that can benefit from enterprise asset technology such as RFID.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Kiki Barnes, Athletic Director at Dillard University. My job entails a lot of things, managing and hiring good personnel and coaches who can help build championship programs. I serve as an ambassador for the university, so I represent the the university as the athletics representative and anything that is related to athletics on behalf of my president. I also serve an interim role as commissioner of our conference, which means that I also manage the 6 or 7 schools that are part of our conference. We have championships that we run: basketball, cross country, volleyball. So a lot of different things. I actually have a game day management student here, Donovan, who works
right
as
on.
Yeah, he's here. He's a member of our team. He works on our live stream teams and helps to live stream our games. So there's a lot of things, working with student athletes, making sure they have a good experience. So it encompasses a lot of those things, but it's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Doc. My name is Larry Kennedy. I'm the key account manager and elite player and coach liaison at Riddell Sports. And my job really is to control the health and safety of the game. And you see great helmets that you see at the game this week was provided by Riddell. And my job is to come out here and educate our student athletes on product safety, on the innovation, what's happening in sports, what's happening in football, and the ever-evolving door of football equipment.
Yeah, a couple lifetimes ago, I covered Larry when he was playing for University of Florida. So, you know, that was a nice little reconnection there, a little serendipity. Dr. Barnes, I want to start with you, because you really undersold everything that you do. But how did you get into it? Because a lot of times, you know, we hear young people say, I want to get into administration. I want to be a general manager. I want to be an athletic director. What is the path? Because there's so many different ways you can take to kind of get to where you are right now.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. So first of all, let me say this. I did not desire to do athletics. So I was going to be on TV and hold a microphone and talk. So I am very excited to be sitting here talking right now, because I'm living my dream, like talking. I didn't know it was going to happen through athletics, right? But I actually started out as a graduate assistant basketball coach. I was a former student athlete at the University of New Orleans. I played basketball, ran track. I got a graduate assistantship because my coach thought I was responsible. You know, I was someone they could depend on, and I was a great ambassador for the program as a student athlete. You know, I was the person that was always asked to go. If there were 2 student athletes, if this was happening when I was your age, I would have been here and probably have some type of credential on, because I would have been representing the school and working. But I was always that person as a student athlete. So when they had an opportunity to bring someone on board, they thought that I was that person, that I was a good problem solver, that I was positive, and that I worked really hard. Those were some of the 3 things. I read an article where my coach, that's what they said about me. So that's what started me on my path. And when I got the opportunity, I worked really hard. People noticed that, and I moved up really quickly. I was a head coach by 25 at a junior college. And so some of the things that I think are really critical in this work, if you're going to be an administrator or lead, is one, you have to be really positive, and people have to want to listen to you. So you have to figure out how you use your influence. The other thing is you have to be able to solve problems. Because when I got into my job, there were a lot of things that I actually didn't learn in my academic career that now I was posed with having to make a decision about or to solve. So I think what's really critical in terms of what you're thinking about in your career path, and if you want to lead and be in charge, you have to be a problem solver. You have to be a problem solver. And I feel like when I think about myself as a student athlete and how I moved as a student athlete, I always figured out a way to solve my coach's problems. You need somebody to play defense, coach? I got you. You need somebody there? I got you, coach. And I could always do my assignment. Everybody else can always do theirs now. I'm just going to throw that out there. But hey, but I did my part. So I was always able to show that. So I think that as a leader in what I do now is I solve problems and I help lead people. So where people can't see things clearly, I can communicate clearly and help people see things differently. So communication is a lot of what I spend a lot of time doing, talking and trying to understand, listening, trying to see it differently, listening to student athletes. There was a time where student athletes didn't always have a voice. But now we're in a space where I have to lead and I have to listen because I need to understand it from your perspective to do a better job at solving the problem that presents itself, whether it's a better experience for student athletes, whether it's having coaches that are thinking a little bit more forward Maybe it's in the way that we do things. Can we do it better that creates a better experience? All of that requires you to listen and communicate. So when I think about what I do, and if you want to lead, and I'm thinking about all of my colleagues here, I'm pretty sure if you talk to someone about them, communication and being able to problem solve would be two of the top key skills that they have that have helped them to be successful.
And I'll piggyback off of what Kiki just said, because I agree wholeheartedly with everything, but I'll take a slightly different angle and make it more internal to you all, in that you have to be passionate about what you do. You have to have a passion for what you do, because that's the only thing that really gets you through the dog days as you're climbing that ladder. I started my career in finance. So I worked in finance. I got a full-time job the summer of my sophomore year of undergrad. And my last 2 years of school, I worked full-time, went to school full-time. But what I found out was that I was good at my job, but I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't what got me up in the morning. And I wanted to do something different. And a friend of mine ended up working as an assistant swimming instructor, swimming coach at Princeton University. And he started to talk to me about sports. And I always knew I wanted to work in sports, but never knew how to go about doing it. But at that point, I felt I was young enough and eager enough to try it. And if it didn't work, I had a good fallback. So I started to plan out my career, plan out my next steps, and I went to grad school at Springfield College and got a master's degree in sports management. And with that, I turned that into an internship with the Colts, an internship with the Eagles, a full-time job in the league office, in player personnel, then moved over to labor operations, and then came to New Orleans 15 years ago. But being passionate about what you do, and also finding where your value is and where your value is being added to the organization. So as I was making my transition, I felt that my finance background and all of the things I did within finance would give me a leg up in working with contracts, working with the salary cap, and that was my avenue to become a GM one day. That if I was going to try and get a job in personnel, I was probably going to have a harder time doing that, not having played in college and not having worked around football, earlier in my career. So I took my own personal traits and said, how can I fit that within the organizational structure and where can I add value? And then I tried to give my future employers a vision of what I could add. So a lot of my graduate studies work I sent to all 32 clubs. I sent to the NFL. I sent to the NFLPA. I sent to several other agencies, all just trying to get my foot in the door. And it wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It was about, man, I'm passionate about football, and I know I can add value, and I know I can do this. And it was being able to convince other people that I can do the same.
Well, let me talk about it from a student-athlete standpoint, because I'm coming from the University of Florida, and I was one of the top players in the country, but I got injured. So from that standpoint now, what's next? And we would have the job fairs in our athletic department, and I would always go to the job fair because I always knew, hey, life after football, what was going to happen to my life after football. And after the injury, nobody knew. And my thing was network. And the biggest thing about an athlete, you're at your hottest point when you're playing. And that's what everybody don't realize. Once you're done, 3-4 years removed from the sport and you're done with school, they don't know you the same. Your name's not the same. So while you're playing, while you're active, go out. My biggest thing, I was never afraid to meet anybody. I was never afraid to shake a hand. All they could tell me was no, not interested. Hey, it was great to meet you. Who was I going to meet in my hometown to do an internship with? Who was the power players? I tried to figure out who was who. So once I was done playing, there was going to be some kind of opportunity out there for me after football. And everybody got to realize, life after sports, you're only going to get about 3-4 years in. So you're a young man when you're done, even if you get the years in. So you still got to have some kind of life, some kind of career to carry you on. And my thing was to go out here. You got the job fair, I would hit every table. I would find out who's the HR manager. I would get out here and shake hands, take every card, email them back, find out who's going to bring me in as an intern. talk. Don't be afraid to communicate. Communication is the key. I don't care what anyone says. You have to go out there, make yourself valuable. You are your brand, and remember that.
Larry, you buttoned up because there was a lot of ground covered here. And Mallory, we're going to get the mic to you, and then Peter, I want you to follow. But just a couple buzzwords: internships, passion, problem solving, communicating. You guys are here, right? So you're here to communicate. No matter what they just talked about, it all comes down to people and relationships. No matter how brilliant you are, if you can't communicate or manage people, you're not going to excel like those who can. So Mallory, I want to get you talked about recruiting.
Yeah.
You talked about getting people here. So how do they go about internships? How do the advice you can give on find out what you don't like as much as what you do like, and to hit on the passion that you were talking about, and then proceeding from there to meeting the people, like Kai just said, he just he just carpet bombed everybody with his resumes.
Yeah.
So if you could just kind of explain that, because I think you guys all really laid some great groundwork here for what these folks need to do.
Yeah, no, and a lot of stuff that they talked about is stuff that I think about constantly. Like whenever I'm talking to folks and they're like, what are your strengths? My strengths are knowing what my weaknesses are. I know what I'm not good at. I know what I need to work on. I know what I need support in. And so knowing what your strengths are is exactly the same amount as knowing what your weaknesses are. Knowing those soft skills and honing in on those soft skills. They're so important. I know for us specifically, we look a lot at leadership skills. Like that is probably one of the biggest things that we look at, whether you're an intern, whether you're our GM, whether you're our head coach. It's, can you be a leader within our organization? Do you care about people? Do you want to connect? Do you want to develop others? Things of that nature. So when we're looking at specifically our associates, we're looking for somebody that wants to learn, is a go-getter. That is such a huge thing. One of the biggest compliments I get from my EVP is you're not afraid to just offer up and go and do something. You're not afraid to go out there and just be like, do you need support? Do you need help? How can I do that? And always being open to learning is so important as well, because none of us are perfect. Even if you don't know exactly what it is you want to do. I was telling somebody earlier, I've changed my career like 3 times now. I started out as a teacher, now I'm here with the Vikings. Like life is crazy, and that's okay, but it's just being able to get some type of direction and defining success for yourself, I feel like is another huge thing. Like, what does success look like to you? I know we see a lot of things on social media. I know LinkedIn can be this whole big wormhole of, well, look at this person who's 25 and look at what they're doing, and I'm 25 and look what I'm doing, and all these things. But knowing what success is for you is so huge. What are the things that you are passionate about? What's gonna make you get out of bed every day and make you just wanna keep going? Whether that is helping others, whether that's connecting. And on that connection piece, I wanna give this huge thing. Community is so much bigger than connection. Don't just add that person on LinkedIn and send them what year you are in school and da-da-da. No, build a connection. Try to make them be a part of your community. I've met so many people since I joined the Vikings just in July, and they're literally a part of my community. I know they care about me. I know they want to support me. It's not just a message here or there asking for a job. And now it's to the point, it's just like they're going to support me in anything I do no matter where I'm at. And so just thinking to yourself, like, who am I? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What is success like for me? And then when you're going into these interviews, sell yourself. Sell yourself. You know who you are. You know what you're good at. Go confidently. Go boldly. Don't be afraid to be fearless, because they want that. They want that attitude.
Quickly, let me just interrupt.
Yeah.
How do they get to the interviews? How do they get to the internships? That's the biggest question we all hear. How do I get that initial foot in the
So I
door?
will say specifically with the NFL right now, most of them are doing their hiring cycle for associates and interns. I can't speak for every team, but I know this is about that time because we want folks to start obviously before training camp in July. But things like this, that's how you get that interview. I know me personally, especially as a black woman, I'm trying to support all of the other black people that are trying to get in here too. So if you come up to the Minnesota Vikings booth and you tell me this is what I want to do, this is a job that I'm gonna apply for, I'm gonna hit up that hiring manager and I'm gonna send them your resume and I'm gonna say, hey, this is somebody that I think you should find interest in. I'm always on LinkedIn, so don't be afraid to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, but like I said again, community over connection. Don't just connect with them on LinkedIn and say, this is my title, da-da-da. No, set up a meeting. Tell them what your interests are. Get into their database where they send out different jobs that are coming up. Make those connections with people that are already inside of the front office, because they will think of you when an opportunity comes up. And then once you're doing that, don't be afraid to reach out to get somebody to look at your resume. That's huge. Your resume is a ticket into, we just did a resume workshop for our associates. Your resume is your ticket into the job. So you want to make sure that is good to go. And then once you get into that interview, you got to hone in on your skills and you got to know yourself.
So I started my journey in sports when I was age 16. I was hired by the Cleveland Browns on their grounds crew. Now, I never wanted to be a groundskeeper or go that route, but I knew that I wanted to work in sports and I wanted to work inside the building.
So you were cutting grass.
I was cutting grass.
Okay.
And my dad would say I cut grass really well at home. And now I was cutting the practice fields. I was painting them. And by the way, the scouts and the coaches would run, during off times, and I was a runner. I ran cross country and track in college. I was in high school as a summer job, and I was a people person, and that's who I am. And so I would go run laps with Steve Crosby, the offensive coordinator. Thomas Dimitrov was a scout at the Cleveland Browns during that time.
So you were there in
period.
the Belichick.
I was there
Okay.
for the old Browns under Belichick. But the point of it is that I knew that I needed to maximize an opportunity. I was starting out in the shack in the grounds crew. We ate lunch in a different location just because we didn't go inside the building. But I knew that I wanted to work in sports, so I was determined to be who I am, and I then went on to college. 3 years later, I'm attending the NFL 1999 draft at the Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio, and I am in the owner's box area, wearing a suit, and I'm a go-between to the floor. Bernie Kosar was there. And from there, I told him that I wanted to continue my growth into sports. And I was attending school full-time, working part-time. And I went and I said to the vice president of business operations, I'd like you to be my mentor. His name was Billy Hampton, long time in the league, from the league office. Billy did that. He took me under his wing, and he introduced me to people. We would sit down and talk about what happened in a meeting. And I was a sponge. I was young. You're young. You learn from those around you, and you ask the questions, but you need to be bold. You got to go out there, just as you said, you knock on the doors. You want to network. Take that step forward and separate yourselves from the others and say that I am passionate about this industry, and I would like to learn, and will you be my mentor? And we did that. And served in the front office of the Cleveland Browns. 9/11 occurred, and I ended up walking away from sports. I went to serve within the United States intelligence community. I spent 2.5 years in Iraq. I came back, 5 years with the government, and then I went into the private side of defense contracting in Virginia. But I knew I wanted to get back into the sports. So I was heavy into negotiating contracts, teaming agreements. I ended up being able to go to a leadership academy and school in Lausanne, Switzerland for the management in leadership. A few years later, I'm sitting for the NFLPA contract advisor licensed to be a sports agent. I passed that test. I worked for part-time for a firm down in South Florida, managing Olympic and NFL athletes. And while doing that, realized that's not what I wanted to do full-time. And so I was fortunate enough to be hired by Zebra Technologies to manage the Next Gen Stats program. And that has then led to now this new vertical position that I'm running for North America. And it's exciting to now be going and talking to F1, talking to Major League Baseball, because I'm passionate about the art of the deal and taking Zebra's awesome solutions and maximizing and being empowering these different enterprises around the United States.
That's awesome. Kiki, before we get to it, we have a question. And Kai will tell you, yes, there's turf in the Superdome, but there is real grass on their practice field. If anybody wants to cut grass, we do have a question right here. And if you have a targeted person you want to ask, go ahead and let them know.
Yes, this is Ray Anderson from MBA student at Southern University. This is kind of general to the board, I guess you could say. As a student athlete, and for any student athletes here, maybe for the last 3-4 years, the reason that we got up has been our sport. Maybe we don't have an idea of what specifically any other things are, or things that we want to get into specifically that will get us up in the morning, or a job that we want to do specifically. What things can we do to kind of figure that out? And as well, it's kind of a two-pronged question. Being that we go to HBCUs, majority of us here you know, it's hard for us sometimes to get these interviews, to get these opportunities to be in front of people where we have the personality for it, but it's hard having our resume succeed somebody from Florida or from Alabama or from Harvard. What things can we do specifically for us to get us these in-person interviews or get across the board and meet the right people?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. What was your name again, Ray?
Ray Anderson, yes.
All right, Mr. Anderson, thank you. Asking a question in an audience like this will get you that opportunity. Let me just say that. Y'all heard it, Ray Anderson. Okay. One of the things that I think is really critical, and I think it's especially usually harder for student athletes because we're always doing stuff. We're always at practice. Our schedules are managed for us, and I'm saying us because I'm remembering my experience as a student athlete. And when I got to my senior year, I didn't know what I wanted to do because I hadn't done an internship. I hadn't done an internship my entire 4 years. But what happened for me was the way I interacted with the people that were in my circle, they were rooting for me because they were like, she's gonna be somebody, why don't you go over here? So one thing is, and I'll get to the other piece, the one thing I think is really critical is how you interact with your coaches matters. So, and coaches aren't always right. But when you understand the bigger picture and you do your best, your coach can be a really good advocate for you and other people in the athletics department. On the flip side of that, what I learned was joining committees and groups to work on a project was, to me, the super sauce. Okay, so we have Final Four events, we have HBCU Legacy Bowl here, right? And there's a committee of people. And you get a chance to work on that committee and help those things, make these things come to be. Well, guess what? You're developing relationships and community. You're developing community because people are getting to know about you. They don't need to see your resume. They need to experience you. And so one of the things that I think is really critical and what has helped me, because honestly, every job I have was a phone call. It was somebody that said, you need her because she can do A, B, C, D, because they worked with me. Whether it was me volunteering, being a graduate assistant, in church somewhere, on a committee at church, and the church person worked at this job with that person and said, you need to call. It was the experience that the people had with me on the volunteer opportunity that made that happen. And so if there are opportunities for you to volunteer and you get an email saying you need to show up for something like this, or we're looking for people to work behind the scenes to help this event, that is the best way for you to get in, because now I know you. See, Donovan, I know Donovan. I talked to Donovan right before I got on the stage because Donovan came to the athletics department and said, hey, I'm a film major. I'm interested in wanting to film sports. Can I be a part of your team? Of course I want you to be a part of the team. So now I need somebody to go with me next week to film at our GCAC championships, because remember, I'm the commissioner. Donovan's got the inside track because Donovan and I have worked together. He volunteered. He didn't get paid. So the thing that I think you really have to think about in terms of navigating is you've got to be willing, if football is where you want to be, then go find a football committee or some event that's happening and volunteer for their walk run. They may be hosting a 5K, and they're looking for volunteers to give out medals at the end. You're going to meet the person who recruits. You may run into the VP of well, that's going to be that's your future. I know you might not be now, but that's your future.
Got a promotion already.
that does culture, and she does all the recruiting because she's managing the volunteers looking for people. She experiences you and says, I met this young man. He was just amazing. I think we need to give him a shot. Now you're in the interview, and they didn't even see your resume because they experienced you.
And if I could say something, Donovan approached me when I first got here. Now Donovan and I have a relationship. We've exchanged emails already. I will always remember it. For real. It's the people part. Remember that.
Well, and that's 100% fact. I'm on the executive committee of the Celebration Bowl. I'm also on the executive committee of the Orange Blossom Classic. So I'm very involved from a Riddell standpoint. And of course now we're involved here with the HBCU Legacy Bowl. I met Doug Williams 3 years ago at the Celebration Bowl in our suite talking about the future plans of what could be. And here we are now, let's fast forward, and here we are now today. So the people you meet when you're talking about volunteering at the events, the people you meet at these events will blow your mind, just as a volunteer. Both of my boys graduated from HBCUs. My oldest graduated from Fayetteville State. My youngest graduated from North Carolina Central, is in grad school now. And they both have, my oldest has a great job from networking, of course, talking to dad, networking, getting them out there, showing them the way. But going to these events, volunteering, when we send out these emails for you to volunteer, respond to the emails. We need those volunteers. That's just not something we're throwing out there for fun. We need the volunteers, and the people that you come across, in some cases from Disney, from ESPN, from wherever, you'll be surprised. Coca-Cola, it's a lot of executives that are at these events that are just waiting to talk and get their card. As a youngster, go on LinkedIn. I tell my boy, get off Facebook, get off Twitter, go to LinkedIn and connect yourself with some folks that make a difference, not just stuff that's for fun.
Oh, my point was actually about LinkedIn as well. And I also kind of want to give slightly a different perspective. So this is my first sports job. This is my 4th year out of college. I didn't have any connections in sports. I had no networking, nothing like that. But I knew I wanted to get into it. So please utilize LinkedIn. The only way I even found the job that I have is because I joined a LinkedIn group that was specifically for getting women in sports, and I stalked that page every single day, every single job. I was like, where's it at? I know they're gonna have something. But I also didn't just apply to any job. I know my guy here was talking about passion earlier. Please don't go and just apply to every job that you see for a sports team. Only apply to the jobs that you are passionate about, and apply to the jobs that you know your skills match. Because I'm gonna tell you, the secret from the HR perspective is not a good look when I see somebody has applied to all 20 of our associateships. But yes, please utilize LinkedIn, because you're not always gonna have the opportunity to go and volunteer. That's the sad reality of it all. But LinkedIn has a lot of power, and not just use it to go on there and look at jobs and make connections. Actually show your presence. Like, post about things. Post about things that you're passionate about. I'm posting about DEI all the time. Hype up your peers, because guess what? They're gonna hype up you back. And you don't know who's gonna see that. I've had so many people reach out to me just because, oh, well, I saw so-and-so tagged you in this, and I thought that was cool. Can we connect? Absolutely. I would love to connect. So really take advantage of LinkedIn. It is probably one of the biggest tools you could have right now in this age, especially if you're a job seeker, looking for connections, looking to just, level up in any way.
And I'll take a slightly different angle, because I think I understood your question a little bit differently, in terms of looking for that avenue that sparks that passion. That's the way I understood your question. It's like you're so invested in your sport that maybe you haven't spent enough time to figure out what exactly you're passionate about. But with that, I'll say you have to invest in yourself. Because anybody who's looking for a job and looking to work for somebody, you want us to invest in you, but what have you done to invest in yourself? So in that is you need to take opportunities when they present themselves. Now, you can use your coaching staff, you can use your career services office at your school to find different avenues for you to volunteer, for you to intern, so that you can find those areas that you're passionate about. When I went to grad school, I worked in the career services office, and I worked for the Springfield Falcons, who were a AHL hockey team, right? I don't know anything about hockey. Still don't know a lot about hockey even after working there. But I was able to learn different operational aspects of the business. So in each opportunity that you encounter, you're going to learn something that's going to help you. You're going to learn some form of transitional skill that might not be, it's going to be something that's going to help you in the future. Your current job might not be the job you ultimately want, but yet it's a stepping stone to help you get to the next level that you're trying to reach.
Okay, and Adam, I'm going to come to you in just a second. There's one thing I want to say about it as an HBCU grad from Howard University also. We're not second fiddle to anyone. Don't ever assume that just because you went to HBCUs that somebody who's hiring from Princeton's not going to look at your resume. Do not ever accept that. Do not get out of that mindset right now, because we are powerful in what we do, and I'm proud, I'm biased in saying that, but a lot of these people employing people right now are looking specifically to HBCUs, which is why all these people are here, right? Which is why you go to your booths. So understand that, but also understand no one's coming to you, which is why you guys are ahead of the game while a lot of folks are sleeping or, posting Instagram photos right now. because you guys are here. But Adam, I want to get to you because we're talking about getting with teams and this. And real quick, while I'm thinking about it, there's a website called like Teamworks. I believe it's Teamworks. That list, Teamworks Online. It posts every job opportunity with every sports teams, from minor league baseball to minor league hockey to, I mean, anything you can think of, colleges, universities. That's another great avenue because even most teams will have you apply to internships and jobs through the Teamworks website. So Teamworks Online, I'm sorry, but make sure you invest in that. So, but Adam, we're talking about applying to teams and this and that, and I think, again, we talk about working in sports. But like with Zebra, or going to work for Riddell, Larry, or Nike, or Titleist, there's so many things affiliated with the sports world. Can you touch on that again to expand the thinking of the massive footprint? And a lot of it hasn't even been seen yet with some of the things you're doing with Next Gen Stats, with some of the things coming on with the streaming properties and things like that.
Yeah, it is amazing what it takes to put on an NFL football game from the business of football. And that goes for every major league sport or from the NCAA standpoint. But all the fields that are in regular traditional business, they exist. So we need business IT. You need network engineers, software engineers. We need business operations. You need a vice president. You need HR, right? So just like you're passionate about sports, or if you're passionate about playing the piano or a musical instrument, you know that you've got to put the time in, on and off the field. It's the same thing as you get into the world of sports and the business of sports, that as you navigate your time in school and you figure out what that passion is offside the football field, there are so many opportunities from operations. I managed a team of 70 game day employees, and then from there it grew to 140, and they came from all different skills and backgrounds. And so certainly you need to continue your journey as far as you put the time in on the field. It's the same when you're in a business environment, in the sense that you always continue to sharpen the sword. And so you look for leadership development, management development, learning how to work with different individuals from an HR standpoint as their leader and be able to foster growth. But Steve, to your point, there are so many different opportunities that across from NFL Network to what Zebra Technologies does in and around football, and we're doing with NCAA. Next year, we're going to come and be the official player tracking provider of the Legacy Bowl, providing the same sort of stats and data that we do for Next Gen Stats. So the key is to go to all these different sites and you look at the different makeup. And as Kai can tell you and as well, the fact that the NFL front office has grown and grown over the years. There are a lot of opportunities, but it's up to you to kind of hone in and do your work. And that is reading biographies about different GMs, football operations, a football life. But if you want to be an IT director and work in sports, there's an opportunity for you.
And yeah, Larry, I wanted you to, because you're a criminology major. You were thinking about getting to doing the intel stuff that Adam was doing, but you found this. But also like Riddell alone, you talked about player safety. From the science of it to the equipment manufacturing. I mean, just walk folks through maybe the 15 different tentacles.
Well, the funniest thing
is, I'm going to do a TV trick, mic to the chin.
Well, the funny thing, we have the Riddell roadmap. So we start talking about product innovation, and I start thinking about my time from when I started with Riddell in '99. I've been with Riddell 22 years. That's what everybody don't realize. So when I started even thinking about the helmet itself, from the VSR-4 to we came out with the Revolution, the Riddell Speed helmet, the Riddell Speed Flex, the Riddell Precision Fit, Diamond Precision Fit, and now we have, of course, the Riddell Axiom, which is built to fit. And it's the first helmet that's going to be a standard helmet with the smarter football that's going to come equipped already inside the helmet with Insight. So there's so much when you start talking about product innovation in Riddell, our engineering team, from building face masks. Everybody, you talk about the Von Miller face mask, the OBJ face mask. Everybody started naming all these things. Well, we do have an engineering team on the back end that handles this. So when you start talking about internships, it's not just in sales. It's not just in HR. We have engineering. We have our reconditioning plants, our manufacturing plants. We have reconditioning. We have new product. There's so many things out there from a standpoint of Riddell that you can be a part of. And it's not just on the front end of sales. It's also on the back end with helmet and product innovation.
And Mallory, I want to get to you, and Kiki, I want you to jump in as well. So, me knowing all these teams and their buildings and whatnot, and don't forget if you have a question, please ask. But the Vikings might be the leaders in diversity throughout their entire organization, especially as it comes to women in leadership positions. What about women getting involved and how they can climb the career arc, especially with forward-thinking organizations like yours?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because we actually have a women's in football ops summit that we do. My wonderful boss, Ann, and I put it on last year for the very first time. I think we were the first team to do it. I know the league does one, but that one's like just specifically jobs in football, and it's very, secluded. But ours is, anybody that's in school, maybe you're out of school, maybe you're already in sports, but just women and non-binary folks that are interested in it. There are a lot of events going on for those folks. Like, I know that we do it. I think the Jaguars are doing a shadow ship for just for women and things of that nature. So again, with the networking, like, don't be afraid to look out and see where those opportunities lie, because again, we want those folks in there. We realize the disparity between women in the football side of things, women in leadership roles, and we're trying to do what we can to fix that. Specifically from the Vikings perspective, I think we just realized the value that folks have. Just because you didn't play in football doesn't mean you can't learn the game. One of our scouts that's here right now for this game is a black woman, and she's the first black woman we've ever had in our scouting department, and it's amazing for her to be there, for her to get her value in those things. But I think we just kind of take it from a different perspective. I think it helps that we're one of, 8 or 9 teams with a DEI person. My boss was the first DEI person in the whole entire league that had a job that was civilly DEI. We were the first team to have 2 when I got hired last year. And so just kind of having that different perspective of knowing we're not just a football team. Obviously, all of our goal is to win a Super Bowl. That's number one. But, we recognize that we are a business. We recognize that our folks have value, that they deserve to be respected, that we want to get them in, we want them to feel valued every single day that they're there. So I feel like when we go from it for that perspective, we are very intentional about who we're hiring. We are very intentional about, are we making sure that we're getting diverse candidates, not just applying, but are we also getting them into interviews? Are we getting them into these actual positions? And if not, what's the issue? Because it's not that the talent isn't there. I'm looking in this room right now. The talent is there. But we, as an organization, have to do our part to find it. And I think that's something that we're doing. And I think it's something that the NFL is kind of getting better at as well. Still a long way to go. But, we're improving in that, and we're being way more intentional with our efforts.
That's good stuff right there. There are a lot of good things happening. I'm a member of an organization called Women Leaders in College Sports, and as Mallory mentioned, there are groups of organizations now that are looking to help develop the communities, again, to help support women in sports. I actually founded a program called So You Want a Career in Athletics because I wanted to see us start strengthening that pipeline and start working with young people at the age that I was when I didn't know what I wanted to do. Remember, I told you I was in college. I played sports all my life. I love sports. I ran track, cheerleader, all of that. And at no point during my time as an athlete did I think I'd have a career in sport. I didn't even consider it. It's just so weird. Like right now, now I think I'm really weird. I didn't think I was going to work in sports. So I started that program. It's 5 years old this year. Yeah. And I've had the opportunity to work with New Orleans Pelicans and Shanika here, who is our chair for the HBCU Legacy Bowl, has been a part of that, an amazing woman who's doing work. So there are a lot of groups at SYWCIA is So You Want a Career in Athletics. If you want to follow that, if you're a young woman interested in getting support, mentorship, then that is the work that I am trying to do in preparing the next group. So once they get to Mallory or they get to a VP of production here, Ms. Henderson, and they will be prepared and ready to enter the workforce. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's a great time, I think, for women in sport right now, and I think we should take advantage of it and work together to do the work. So really excited about it.
Hello. My name is D. Monterio Anderson. I'm assuming Ray probably is a lost family member that I might. Oh, my name is D. Monterio Anderson. I'm assuming Ray could be a possibly lost family member somehow. That's the same last name. But anything. But being that you guys are so iconic and everything, let's talk. I don't mean to get personal, but I want to talk about motives. You guys discussed the stepping stones in your life and everything. I want to know what got you to this point. It don't got to only be before you got to this point, even within your organization. How do you come with new ideas? Like for Zebra, being that technology is so advanced now, how do you find new ideas? How do it come in? How do it click? Or being that equipment have came so far and everything like that, though, what comes? Like what pops up in your head, or what can make you be like, oh, this can be new, or anything like that, though? I would like to know that.
Well, we have our engineering team, I feel like, is second to none. And behind the scenes, our Vice President of Product Development, Thad Ide, our CEO President, Dan Arment, I mean, we believe in being proactive, not reactive in the game. And in Riddell, we don't worry about our competitors. Our game is, our theme is, we're out to save the game. We're out to change the game. And we're going to always be the leaders in helmet manufacturing and product development and helmet development. And we don't really care about what other people really think about the look, the idea. Our deal is helmet and product safety, and to change the game and keep the game safe. If you look at our database, we went out 8 million impacts that we've done over the years on helmet safety with our technology. I mean, our IT team, Insight. So with us, it's not us guessing. We've actually done our homework. We've done it in the field. I mean, a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, field testing. A lot of people a lot of times don't realize how much field testing goes on. They don't know the product that's out there being field tested, why it's being field tested. Sometimes something may pop up on social media and you have no idea what it is. Next thing you know, you see it 2 years later, and there it is, the Axiom helmet, per se. I mean, it was out there on social media before we even did the official launch. And nobody knew the name. They just knew Riddell was launching a new helmet, or there was something out there for Riddell. And now when we launched the Axiom, now we're out scanning. There's no more just go and fit a helmet. When we go in now, we actually go in with our scanning machine, with our iPad, we can even do it now with the app, our phones. We actually give it to the NFL teams, the college equipment managers. We let them scan the players if we can't get to the players. I mean, I have our D17 team here, our key account managers. With us, man, we hit the teams. If one of us can't get to, let's say, the Saints, somebody else may come in and take over and do the scanning. So we go around to all 32 teams, and we scan players. We go around to every Division I team, scanning players. So we track the players and they play and their head scans and their production over their career.
Yeah, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes into delivering the product. So for Next Gen Stats, we just finished our 8th season with the NFL. We've tracked 2,640 games. That's every game in the United States, every single play of every single player for all teams, as well as the international series, because you can't have the next generation of statistics if you're not tracking every play. But it goes to our engineers, and there's a collaboration between the software developers, the football operations folks, and developing a tag that can go underneath the epaulet of a shoulder pad and not impact the player performance. That is so vitally important that we don't have any impact. These only weigh a few grams. If you come by our table and you see Amy and the team, we can show you that tag that is utilized for Next Gen Stats and that we'll be using here next year. But it takes a collaboration. That's a great partnership that we have with the NFL to deliver, but it's also being a good team player and understanding the lanes. The engineer folks do their thing, but everyone brings value. And when you focus on your expertise, that's the beauty of just like a team being full offense, defense, special teams, delivering in football. It has to be the same way as we deliver Next Gen Stats from we're in the locker rooms at 7 in the morning for a 1 o'clock kick to then calibrating the field into the press box, streaming to NFL Network, and then deactivating tags in the post game. That's just the game day 12-hour activity, but all the things that have to go between that with the applications of the software solution, and we have to be working for every play. So the only solution is that we have success, and it really comes down to our people. And it's hiring the right people who are passionate about delivering results, and that's the sort of folks that we're looking for.
And I think as you're looking and you're asking the question of how do we come up with ideas, I think some of those things are innate to the individual, but more importantly, I think it's a culture. As I would say, like Riddell, Zebra, there's a culture of innovation. And I would say, like, we have that, a culture of innovation. What are we trying to do? We're trying to get better. We're using each minute, each hour of every day to get better than we were the day before. And we're going to turn over every stone to try and get there. So we can say that we were one of the first teams, if not the first team, to adopt Zebra and help them, test their product as we're trying to get better as a football team. So you bring your ideas to the table, you collaborate with your cohorts, and you're trying to figure out as an organization, how do we get better and how do we get to the next step?
And just real quick before we get to another question, prime example, like Next Gen Stats, look at how many teams are going for it on like 4th down and 1 now, regardless of where they are on the field, as opposed to 2 and 3 years ago. And that is all based on this information that they're collecting and giving to teams saying, yeah, why punt when 70% of the time, if you go for it, you're going to convert and get another set of downs. So it's that creative that's really transitioning to stuff that you and I can visually see. We have another question here.
Hello, I'm Stefan Savage. I'm in the master's program for Alcorn State University, and I'm also a student athlete. I have a question for, is it Dr. Barnes? Dr. Barnes? Okay, Dr. Barnes, you said you started as a coach at 25 at JUCO. So I would like to know what problems did you face, because you were around the same age as the students that you were coaching. So what issues did you face trying to lead people around your same age, and what did you do to solve those problems?
Wow, that is a very good question. So honestly, I didn't have problem leading student athletes at that time. Like, they loved me, and I loved them. People love me. I think just in general, that's my gift.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't mean that but I've always led people. I was coaching the people on my team when I was a student athlete, so that actually wasn't my challenge as a young coach. My challenge was older people not wanting to listen to me and wanting to move forward. That was more of my challenge. I had ideas. So when you were asking, like, well, how do the ideas come? He said it was innate, and I think that some of it, but the gift that I would call that is vision. There are people who have the ability to see things that nobody else can see. And if they're not a good communicator, they can't get everybody else to understand. And so if they don't communicate well and they haven't learned that skill, people think they're crazy. And they're like, there's just over there. But what I had was the gift of vision. I can see things, and when I saw something, I was young and a hothead. I'm going to go do it because I saw it. I know you don't see it, but I saw it, and it makes sense to me. And I didn't necessarily want to communicate and get them to understand what I was doing. I wanted them to trust me that I was talented, that I was talented. You hired me because I'm good, and let me do what I need to do to make you look good. And that was my biggest challenge. I was so upset because I felt like, well, why did you hire me if you were going to try to micromanage me and tell me what to do? That was the hardest challenge. So I will tell you, as a person now who has been leading coaches, players, and people for 16 years as an athletic director, I work really hard at hearing young people. Because I remember when I was your age and I knew, and I was confident that I knew, and I had the skill and I was good enough to make it happen, and for them to be like, she really did that. And then I moved on. So what I will say is, one, be good at what you do. I think it's really important that, and as a student athlete, I feel like everything I learned about life, I learned on the court. So I remember when I didn't understand why my coach didn't want me to shoot, because remember, I was the best player on my team out of high school, so coach, why I can't shoot, right? And I remember there were times in games where I knew I could get it done for coach, but he wanted the play to go through somebody else. So I had to make a decision. Am I going to go with what coach says, or am I going to take a chance on myself? Now, if I decide I'm going to go against what coach says, that means I'm probably, if I don't deliver, guess where I'm going to be? Every player knows I'm going to be on the bench, right? But if I take the shot and I make the shot, then I can look at coach and say, see, you need to give me more shots. And so what I learned as a player was, if I'm going to take that risk, and I know that that's not what he want to do, I got to deliver. And what I learned as a player was to be a deliverer. And when I became that, when I decided to take those risky kind of make decisions when people couldn't see what I saw, and I truly believed I could get it done. I knew I had to get it done, because if I don't get it done, I lose influence. I lose influence and I lose trust. And those are two of the most important skills that you have to lead people in whatever organization you're in. And so for me, again, my biggest challenge literally was just getting them to trust that they had hired the right person and I could get it done. And the only way you can overcome that is delivering. So I would always tell players, when I started coaching, it was very frustrating when players would say to me, well, coach, you make all the decisions. It's all on you, so ain't nothing I can do. I was like, I made coaches play me by my action. So I took it serious. I did what I needed to do. I worked extra hard. I got in the gym extra times so that when I was going to go left, that coach wouldn't be stressed out about me going left, and it was going to be good for him or her or whoever was coaching me at the time. And so I learned that, and I took that very seriously. I took accountability and responsibility serious because I wanted to be trusted and I wanted to have influence. I wanted to make a difference. But if you're going to do that, then you have to do the work to earn that.
That's fantastic. We got to button this up soon. But in other words, she said, you hear, don't be afraid to fail, but don't be afraid to succeed. Okay, you have one question, and then Mallory, I want to get something to you that's very important to young people, since you're a hirer, after we hear this question.
Good morning. My name is Ja'Cory Howard. I'm a current student athlete at Texas Southern University. This question is directed to Larry and Riddell. What's a typical work week in the order of operations of how Riddell designs those helmets? Because I actually like the Flex helmet. Like, that's my favorite helmet, and I was just trying to figure out like how it works and how you guys come up with those designs as to making it slide. Because, you know, most typical helmets have the little clamp. And what made you guys come up with the idea to make the little slide bar?
Well, you know, the chin strap.
You got to bring it to the chin. Bring it to the chin.
The traditional chin strap, the traditional chin strap has been around forever. So for us at Riddell, when we came up with the ratchet chin straps, for us it was a big deal because nobody had ever done anything with chin straps. It was chin strap innovation, and even now today with the cam lock. So we went from the ratchet now to the cam lock, which is now even more so a game changer. So for us, it's always about the helmet innovation. Just isn't about the helmet, but it's about the whole everything dealing with the helmet. So the chin strap was a big focus for us. We got away from just the regular, traditional snap. I mean, everybody knew the football helmet, chin strap, just snap on the chin strap. We put the safety piece into it. So now with the cam lock chin strap, it locks the helmet onto the head. So now there's no movement, the helmet can't flip off. If that player has that cam lock strapped on, that helmet's strapped on his head. Now from a work standpoint, there's a lot of windshield time. You get up early, you finish late. There is no time slot, there's no 9 to 5. And the other part, you continuously learn in the profession. You build in the profession. It doesn't stop because you get the job. When you get the job, that's just the starting point. So now you got to go learn the job. You got to learn the people. You got to learn your clients. You got to become now. You got to build relationships, and you got to know how to read people. There's a lot of things you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to turn your friends off, and you're gonna have to start your new life on that road. And it becomes a part of who you are.
Yeah, there's not one person on the stage who would tell you that there's such a thing as a 9 to 5, and there is no 40-hour work week, and there is no 5-day, work week. That's gone. That ends pretty much high school, maybe college. That changed. So Mallory, as we button this up, and this is so important for everybody, social media. We have a lot of people who blow job opportunities. I didn't mean to say it like that. Who ruin job opportunities. Sorry. Who ruin job opportunities because they like to be liked on social media. So could you please explain to these young people to be careful, to be cognizant in everything of what they do on social media because it lives forever?
Yeah, I guess a good rule of thumb is if you don't want your grandma to see it, we probably also don't want to see it. I can't speak too much to it because I know us as an organization, we don't really look at people's socials. That's not really a thing.
Then you're rare.
I was about to say, so I wish I could speak on it more, but as far as I know, I've never had to look at a social or anything.
Well,
the only socials we looked at is
okay,
LinkedIn.
Kai, you talked to
Yeah, I
that.
was about to say somebody else because we don't look at socials.
See, it's interesting because I just had this conversation earlier today, And I'll say a couple of different things here. Is that people can use social media in a very constructive and productive way. But I would also say it's a cautionary tale because there's a lot of negatives that are attached to it. You might think that what you post is, happy-go-lucky, nobody's going to take offense to it, and yet you never know how it's going to be received. It's the same thing as emails. Emails don't always come across and have, the intent that you want it to, and somebody thinks you were mad at them, and like, I wasn't mad. Like, what are you thinking? The same thing can happen with social media posts, and we've had individuals who wanted to be in our scouting department who all of a sudden we saw on their social media posts they were criticizing a college program's head coach or even criticizing our head coach's decision in a game. Well, those things come back to you, and when you're in certain positions, they're highlighted even more. So sometimes when you put stuff out there as a fan, okay, you're a fan. It's a whole different experience when you're working within the industry. So you can't look at your social media posts as a fan when it comes to being in the football side of things.
Yeah, and I would say that, character matters. Whether or not it's Zebra or any NFL, NCAA, and you're applying for jobs, the old saying I like to say is, one today is worth two tomorrows, in the sense that the things you do today, from a social media standpoint, or if it's in school, grinding, working towards that professional endeavor, the things you do are either going to help you or hurt you. So just remember that as you go about your journey, that the time you put in is going to pay off dividends, but the times that you slip, especially on that social media standpoint, we have talent acquisition and hiring managers who look at that because we're looking for people of character, people that we know that we can trust, people that can go out and represent the company, wear the brand, and deliver results.
Yeah, and just seriously, I mean, I've got kids your age. They're asked their social media handles on job applications or interviews. That they're asked for a reason. And plus, Adam can find you too. He worked for the government trying to find out the most detailed information on people in the world. So
Yeah, Adam's not my real name, but
yeah, that's right. Well, look, we want to thank you guys for showing up. We want to thank the panelists. You guys have been fantastic. Let's give them a round of applause. And as we exit the stage, please visit every booth in here because something could be said or a conversation could be had that changes your whole way of thinking and that could change your life. All right, so thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.